Welcome to BritBuzz, my YouTube channel. Did you know that the real pirates of the Caribbean were far more dangerous and fascinating than what we see in movies? Forget the Hollywood tales of charm and buried treasure. The truth is both grittier and more unbelievable. The Caribbean, during the late 1600s and early 1700s, was the ultimate pirate playground, a time when European empires fought for dominance, trade routes overflowed with gold and silver, and lawlessness ruled the seas. Pirates saw an opportunity. They raided ships, built their own communities, and rebelled against the world's most powerful nations. In this video, we'll explore the real story of the pirates of the Caribbean. We'll dive into their chaotic lives, legendary figures like Blackbeard and Bonny, epic battles, and how this wild chapter of history eventually came to an end yet still inspires us today. Get ready to uncover the truth behind the Jolly Roger. The Golden Age of Piracy, 1650–1730. The Golden Age of Piracy was a period between the mid-1600s and early 1700s when piracy reached its peak, especially in the Caribbean. But why did piracy explode during this time? The answer lies in opportunity, chaos, and greed. Why it started. During the 17th century, European powers like Spain, England, France, and the Netherlands were fighting for control over the Americas. The Caribbean, with its warm waters and countless islands, became a battleground. Spanish ships, loaded with treasure from Central and South America, sailed through this region on their way back to Europe. These ships were irresistible targets for pirates. At the same time, colonial settlements lacked strong naval defenses, making them easy to raid. Why the Caribbean was a pirate's paradise? The Caribbean was perfectly set up for piracy. Strategic trade routes, ships carrying gold, silver, spices, and other valuable goods passed right through the region. Colonial rivalries. Spain controlled much of the Americas, but the French, English, and Dutch were determined to take a piece of the pie. Pirates often used this conflict to their advantage, switching sides when it suited them. Hidden islands. The Caribbean's countless islands and hidden coves offered perfect places for pirates to hide, repair ships, and divide their loot. Types of pirates. Not all pirates were the same. Here's a breakdown of the main types. Privateers. Privateers were pirates with permission. They carried letters of marque from their home governments, which allowed them to attack enemy ships legally during wartime. Essentially, they were state-sponsored pirates, given a free pass to raid rival nations. For example, an English privateer could legally attack Spanish ships and bring the spoils back to England. Privateers were highly motivated because they kept a share of the loot. However, when wars ended, many privateers became true pirates to keep their lifestyle going. Buccaneers. Buccaneers were a special breed of pirates, originally French and English hunters who lived on the islands of Hispaniola and Tortuga. They got their name from boucan, a method of smoking meat. Eventually, these adventurers turned to piracy, targeting Spanish settlements and treasure ships. The Spanish Empire's wealth and lack of defenses made them easy prey. Buccaneers operated like guerrilla fighters, raiding quickly and disappearing into the jungle or the sea. True pirates were the ultimate outlaws. They answered to no one, recognized no government, and lived by their own code. They attacked ships from any nation, looted settlements, and created pirate havens where no law existed. For true pirates, life was about freedom, treasure, and rebellion against the powerful empires of the time. Ports like Nassau in the Bahamas became infamous pirate strongholds, where pirates ruled, partied, and shared their loot without fear. In the Caribbean, these three types of pirates coexisted, often blurring the lines between hero and villain. What started as opportunistic raids turned into a legendary era of piracy that still captures our imaginations today. Life of a pirate, myth versus reality. When we think of pirates, images of adventurous treasure hunts, dramatic sword fights, and endless rum might come to mind thanks to Hollywood. But the reality of pirate life was far more challenging and less glamorous. Let's break it down. 1. Daily life. Harsh conditions and constant danger. Being a pirate wasn't an endless adventure. The day-to-day life of a pirate was grueling and full of hardship. Lack of food. Pirates spent weeks, even months, at sea. Fresh food would spoil quickly, so they often ate hardtack, a rock-hard biscuit, and salted meat. Rats and insects were common, and hunger could lead to eating anything available. Disease and injuries, poor hygiene, lack of medical care, and cramped spaces led to outbreaks of scurvy, dysentery, and other deadly illnesses. Injuries from battles often resulted in amputations with little pain relief or just a swig of rum to dull the agony. Constant danger. Pirates always lived on edge. They had to be ready for ship battles, mutinies, storms, or naval forces hunting them down. Life expectancy for pirates was short. Many died young. Piracy wasn't freedom from hardship, it was a trade-off, freedom from authority, but at the cost of endless risks. 2. Pirate codes. Surprising democracy at sea. Despite their lawless reputation, pirates had their own rules, known as pirate codes or articles. These codes helped keep order and ensured fairness on pirate ships. Equality among crew. Unlike the rigid hierarchies of naval ships, pirate crews shared wealth more equally. Captains received a larger share of the loot, but every crew member got something. No one was left empty-handed. Voting for captains. Pirates practiced democracy. The crew voted for their captain and could remove them if they were unhappy. Captains were respected for their leadership and combat skills, not their social class. Compensation for injuries. Pirates had systems to care for their own. For example, if a pirate lost a limb, they were given compensation, like gold or silver coins, to support themselves. No stealing from crew. While pirates looted ships, stealing from your own crew was a punishable offense. Loyalty and trust were critical for survival. This surprising sense of equality and democracy on pirate ships made piracy an attractive option for sailors who felt mistreated by Navy officers or merchants. 3. Clothing and weapons. The real pirate look. Hollywood portrays pirates with eye patches, fancy hats, and long coats. About how accurate is that? Let's separate fact from fiction. Clothing. Pirates didn't wear extravagant outfits daily. Most dressed for function, not style. They wore loose, practical clothes, linen shirts, breeches, and headscarves to keep sweat out of their eyes. Accessories. Eye patches. While some pirates might have worn them due to injuries, there's little evidence to support the idea of eye patches being common. Bandanas and hats. Bandanas protected their heads from the harsh sun, and tricorn hats, what we see in movies, were often reserved for captains. Weapons. Pirates carried pistols, cutlasses, and knives. Pistols were unreliable. They often misfired or couldn't shoot when weighted, so swords like the cutlass were the preferred weapon for close combat. Real pirates were rugged, practical, and rough around the edges and not as flashy as Hollywood suggests. 4. Misconceptions. Myth versus reality. Let's bust some of the biggest pirate myths. Walking the plank. While iconic in movies, there's no historical evidence of pirates forcing people to walk the plank. Pirates were far more brutal. They'd throw prisoners overboard, maroon them on deserted islands, or torture them to get information. Buried treasure. Pirates rarely buried treasure. Most spent their loot quickly on food, drinks, and entertainment in pirate-friendly ports like Nassau. Gold and silver were valuable, but they also looted supplies like weapons, cloth, and spices. Talking like a pirate. The stereotypical, matey, pirate talk comes from Hollywood films and is exaggerated. Pirates were sailors from different countries, so their accents and slang were diverse and not as uniform as we think. The most famous real pirates of the Caribbean. The Golden Age of Piracy wasn't just about chaos and treasure. It was shaped by real people whose stories are more incredible than any Hollywood movie. Let's dive into the lives of the most legendary pirates who ruled the seas and made history. 1. Blackbeard. Edward Teach. Blackbeard is perhaps the most infamous pirate of all time, and for good reason. Terrifying tactics. Blackbeard wasn't just a pirate, he was a master of psychological warfare. He braided his long, black beard into intimidating shapes and tucked lit slow-burning fuses under his hat during battles, surrounding himself in smoke. His terrifying appearance struck fear into anyone who faced him. Queen Anne's Revenge. His flagship, Queen Anne's Revenge, was a heavily armed vessel that became a symbol of his power. With over 40 cannons, Blackbeard easily captured merchant ships and ruled the seas. Dramatic death. Blackbeard met his end in 1718 during a fierce battle with the British Navy. He was reportedly shot 5 times, stabbed over 20 times, and still fought on before he finally fell. His legend lives on as the ultimate pirate icon. 2. Anne Bonny and Mary Read. Piracy wasn't just a man's game. Anne Bonny and Mary Read were 2 fearless women who shattered norms and earned their place in pirate history. Anne Bonny, born in Ireland, and joined the crew of Calico Jack, a fellow pirate. She was known for her fiery temper, fearlessness in battle, and refusal to conform to society's expectations of women. Mary Read, disguised as a man for most of her life, Mary joined the same crew as Anne. Her combat skills and bravery earned her respect among pirates. Fighting alongside men, both Anne and Mary fought fiercely in battles, often more ferociously than the men around them. Their stories broke stereotypes, proving that strength and courage know no gender. Their capture. In 1720, the 2 women were captured alongside Calico Jack. While Jack was executed, Anne and Mary escaped immediate execution by claiming they were pregnant. Mary fell ill and died in prison, while Anne's ultimate fate remains a mystery. 3. Bartholomew Roberts. The gentleman pirate Bartholomew Roberts, also known as Black Bart, was one of the most successful and feared pirates of the Golden Age. Record-breaking captures. Roberts captured over 400 ships in just a few years, an unmatched record that cemented his reputation. The gentleman pirate. Unlike the chaotic image of pirates, Roberts carried himself with discipline. He dressed elegantly, wore fine clothes, and maintained strict rules aboard his ships, including bans on drinking and gambling. His end. In 1722, Roberts was killed during a naval battle with the British. His death marked the beginning of the end for the Golden Age of Piracy. Roberts was proof that piracy wasn't all lawless chaos. Some pirates ran their ships like businesses, making their mark with strategy and discipline. 4. Henry Morgan. The privateer turned legend. Henry Morgan was not just a pirate, he was a privateer, a pirate who operated with the government's blessing. Raiding Spanish cities. Morgan worked for the English crown during the colonial wars, raiding Spanish cities like Portobelo and Panama. His attacks were ruthless and highly successful, earning him a fortune and notoriety. Becoming a governor, surprisingly, instead of facing punishment, Morgan was knighted and appointed as the lieutenant governor of Jamaica. He spent his later years chasing down other pirates, even though he had lived the pirate life himself. A legend of 2 worlds. Henry Morgan's life blurred the lines between pirate and hero. To the Spanish, he was a villain, but to the English, he was a national hero. His legacy lives on, even inspiring the famous Captain Morgan rum. 5. Other notorious pirates to know. While Blackbeard, Anne Bonny, and Henry Morgan are the most famous, many other pirates made their mark on history. Calico Jack. John Rackham, known for his colorful clothes and the iconic Jolly Roger flag skull with crossed swords. He was also the captain under whom Anne Bonny and Mary Read fought. Captain William Kidd, originally hired as a privateer. Captain Kidd's reputation turned dark when he was accused of piracy. He was hanged in 1701, but debates still rage about whether he was a pirate or a scapegoat. Charles Vane, known for his cruelty and rebellious spirit, Vane refused to accept royal pardons when other pirates were retiring. He met a grim end after being captured and executed in 1721. Conclusion. Pirates who shaped history. The real pirates of the Caribbean were far more fascinating than fiction. From Blackbeard's terrifying tactics to Anne Bonny and Mary Read's fearless battles, these pirates lived lives full of danger, rebellion, and adventure. Some became legends, others fell to betrayal or the gallows, but their stories have lived on for centuries, inspiring us to this day. Major events and battles of Caribbean piracy. The Caribbean was not just a playground for pirates, it was the stage for daring raids, powerful battles, and rebellious kingdoms that defied colonial rule. These events shaped the Golden Age of Piracy and led to its ultimate downfall. 1. The Sack of Panama, 1671. Henry Morgan's infamous raid. One of the most legendary events in piracy history was the Sack of Panama, led by the infamous privateer Henry Morgan. Why Panama? Panama was a key Spanish stronghold, holding vast amounts of treasure brought from South America. For pirates and privateers, it was a prime target. The raid. In 1671, Henry Morgan and his crew of over 1,000 men launched an attack on Panama. They marched for days through the jungle, enduring starvation and disease, but their perseverance paid off. The aftermath: Morgan's forces looted the city, setting it ablaze and claiming enormous treasure. The raid weakened Spain's grip on the region and cemented Morgan's reputation as a pirate legend. Controversy: though Morgan claimed he acted as an English privateer, his actions were so brutal that even England disavowed him, at least publicly. He was arrested but later knighted and made governor of Jamaica, proving the blurred line between piracy and politics. 2. The rise of Nassau, the pirate republic. For a brief but unforgettable period, pirates formed their own kingdom in the Bahamas, known as the Pirate Republic of Nassau. Why Nassau? By the early 18th century, Nassau, on New Providence Island, was a haven for pirates. Its location was ideal, close to shipping routes and poorly defended by colonial powers. The pirate utopia. Pirates ruled Nassau with their own set of rules. They operated as equals, voted for their leaders, and shared treasure fairly, a level of democracy rare for the time. Famous pirates of Nassau. Legendary figures like Blackbeard, Charles Vane, and Benjamin Hornigold made Nassau their base of operations. They launched attacks on merchant ships and amassed massive wealth. The beginning of the end. In 1718, Britain sent Woodes Rogers, a former privateer, to take back control of Nassau. Offering royal pardons to pirates who surrendered, Rogers broke the Pirate Republic's grip, forcing many pirates to retire, flee, or fight to the death. The Pirate Republic was short-lived, but it remains one of the most fascinating chapters in piracy history, a time when pirates truly created their own society. 3. Famous naval battles. Pirates versus colonial powers. Throughout the Golden Age, pirates regularly clashed with powerful navies trying to maintain control of the seas. The battle with Blackbeard, 1718, one of the most famous naval showdowns, involved Blackbeard's ship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, and the British Navy. Led by Lieutenant Robert Maynard, the British forces ambushed Blackbeard off the coast of North Carolina. In a brutal battle, Blackbeard was killed after taking multiple gunshots and stab wounds. This marked the fall of one of the most feared pirates in history. The capture of Bartholomew Roberts, 1722. Known as the Gentleman Pirate, Roberts was feared across the Atlantic for capturing over 400 ships. His reign ended in a fierce naval battle with the British Royal Navy near the coast of Africa. Roberts was killed, and his death marked the turning point in the fight against piracy. Other battles. Pirates often raided ports, captured merchant ships, and fought small colonial fleets. These naval battles were chaotic and brutal, showcasing the pirates' daring tactics and sheer willpower to evade capture. Naval battles were a constant reminder that piracy wasn't just about treasury, it was about survival and rebellion against the powers that be. 4. The end of piracy. The colonial crackdown. By the early 18th century, the Golden Age of Piracy was coming to an end as colonial powers grew tired of the chaos pirates caused. Why did piracy decline? Increased naval presence. Britain, Spain, France, and other colonial powers strengthened their navies to patrol the Caribbean and protect trade routes. Royal pardons. Governments offered pardons to pirates who surrendered, giving many a chance to leave piracy behind and avoid execution. The execution of pirates. Pirates who resisted were hunted down, captured, and publicly executed as a warning to others. Gallows in ports like Port Royal, Jamaica, became grim symbols of piracy's fate. The fall of key figures. The deaths of notorious pirates like Blackbeard, Bartholomew Roberts, and Charles Vane dealt a major blow to pirate morale. Without strong leaders, piracy began to fade. The end of Nassau. With Woodes Rogers reclaiming Nassau, the last pirate stronghold was gone. Pirates lost their safe haven, making it even harder to survive. By the 1730s, piracy in the Caribbean had been largely stamped out. While some pirates turned to smuggling or other crimes, the era of bold raids and infamous legends was over. The decline of Caribbean piracy. By the early 18th century, The Golden Age of Piracy in the Caribbean was drawing to a close. What was once a paradise for pirates turned into a trap as powerful nations tightened their grip on the seas. The pirate lifestyle once filled with rebellion, freedom, and treasury quickly faded into history. 1. Why piracy faded. Several key factors contributed to the decline of piracy in the Caribbean. Naval crackdowns. Colonial powers like Britain, Spain, and France grew frustrated with pirates disrupting trade and raiding their ships. They responded by sending powerful warships to patrol the Caribbean and hunt down pirate crews. The Royal Navy, in particular, became relentless, eliminating pirate strongholds and blocking escape routes. Harsher laws. Governments introduced strict laws to deal with piracy. Pirates who were captured faced swift trials and public executions. These punishments were designed to terrify and discourage others from choosing a pirate's life. Harboring pirates or dealing in stolen goods also became punishable by death. The end of privateering. During earlier conflicts, governments often supported privateers, pirates who were legalized to attack enemy ships during wars. However, as wars ended, privateering was no longer needed, leaving many former privateers unemployed. Without government protection, they were treated as outlaws and hunted down like other pirates. Together, these measures made it increasingly difficult for pirates to survive, let alone thrive, in the Caribbean. 2. The executions of famous pirates. Public executions were a brutal but effective way of ending the pirate threat. Captured pirates were often hanged in public squares or harbors, their bodies left on display as a warning to others. These grim spectacles signaled that the age of piracy was coming to an end. The death of Blackbeard, 1718. One of the most iconic pirate executions was Blackbeard's. In a final showdown off the coast of North Carolina, the British Navy, led by Lieutenant Robert Maynard, ambushed Blackbeard and his crew. After a fierce battle, Blackbeard was killed, reportedly taking 5 gunshots and 20 stab wounds before going down. His head was cut off and displayed on the ship's bow, sending a clear message that no pirate, no matter how feared, was untouchable. Bartholomew Roberts, 1722, known as the Gentleman Pirate, Roberts captured over 400 ships, making him one of the most successful pirates in history. His reign ended when the British Navy caught up with him off the coast of Africa. Roberts was killed in battle, and his crew was captured, tried, and executed in one of the largest pirate hangings in history. The public hangings, in pirate hubs like Port Royal in Jamaica and Nassau in the Bahamas. Executions were often public events. Pirates' bodies were sometimes displayed in iron cages, called gibbets, as a gruesome warning to sailors who might consider turning to piracy. These high-profile executions stripped piracy of its romantic appeal. The pirate life, once seen as an adventure, now looked like a path to a painful and public death. 3. The changing world. The world was changing, and with it, piracy lost its place. Colonial powers tightening control. By the early 18th century, colonial nations like Britain, France, and Spain had firmly established their dominance in the Caribbean. With stronger navies, more soldiers, and fortified ports, pirates found fewer opportunities to raid and escape. What had once been a chaotic frontier was now a well-guarded region. Growth of trade and commerce. Colonial powers prioritized protecting their trade routes, as goods like sugar, tobacco, and gold became vital to their economies. With pirates posing a constant threat, countries invested heavily in naval fleets to patrol the seas, making piracy far riskier. The loss of safe havens. Pirate strongholds like Nassau in the Bahamas were taken back by colonial forces. Without places to repair their ships, hide treasure, or recruit new crews, pirates had nowhere to turn. The fall of Nassau in 1718 marked a major turning point in the war against piracy. Pirates were no longer the kings of the sea. The world had outgrown them, and colonial governments ensured there was no room left for rebellion or lawlessness. Conclusion. The end of an era. The decline of Caribbean piracy was inevitable. Naval crackdowns, harsher laws, and changing political priorities left pirates with little room to operate. The executions of feared pirates like Blackbeard and Bartholomew Roberts symbolized the final blow to their reign. By the 1730s, The Golden Age of Piracy was over. Though piracy still lingered in other parts of the world, the Caribbean was no longer the lawless paradise it once was. The pirates who ruled its waters faded into legend, leaving behind stories of rebellion, treasure, and adventure that continue to captivate us to this day. Athia ai Diaris Sedilla. The legacy of the real pirates of the Caribbean. The real pirates of the Caribbean may have vanished centuries ago, but their legacy continues to shape our imagination, our culture, and even history itself. The stories of their lives are filled with danger, rebellion, and adventure have inspired myths, legends, and an obsession with pirates that still thrives today. 1. From reality to myth and legend. The real pirates of the Caribbean were far different from what we see in movies, but their exploits gave rise to incredible myths and legends. Tales of treasure. Though most pirates didn't bury treasure, stories of hidden gold and jewels sparked the idea of treasure maps and secret islands. These legends came from the belief that pirates hoarded unimaginable wealth. Romanticized pirates. Real pirates lived brutal lives, yet over time, they became romanticized as daring adventurers. Figures like Blackbeard and Bonny transformed from outlaws into larger-than-life characters, celebrated for their courage and independence. Pop culture pirates. The pirate imagia hooks, eye patches, parrots, and matey. Was largely invented by books, plays, and movies. Works like Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson and later films like Pirates of the Caribbean turned pirates into icons of freedom, adventure, and rebellion. While the reality was far harsher, these stories gave pirates a unique place in popular culture as symbols of living outside the rules. 2. Contributions to history. Pirates weren't just criminals, so they played a surprising role in challenging social norms and reshaping history. Equality and pirate codes. Pirates created some of the most democratic systems of their time. On pirate ships, captains were elected by the crew and could be voted out. Treasure was shared equally, with compensation for injuries. Decisions were often made by majority vote. This was revolutionary during an era when monarchs ruled with absolute power and strict hierarchies defined society. Pirates created their own form of equality, where everyone, regardless of race, background, or social status, had a say. Freedom from oppression. Many pirates were former sailors who rebelled against the harsh conditions imposed by colonial navies or merchant ships. For them, piracy was a way to escape oppression and reclaim their freedom. Impact on trade and colonization. Pirates disrupted major trade routes and forced colonial powers to strengthen their naval defenses. The raids on ships carrying gold, silver, and goods altered the flow of wealth between Europe and the New World. In doing so, pirates unintentionally reshaped global trade. While history often paints them as villains, pirates also represented resistance against unfair systems, a rebellious force that challenged the powerful nations of their time. 3. Why we're still obsessed with pirates today. Centuries later, our fascination with pirates is stronger than ever. But why? The symbol of freedom, pirates embody the ultimate sense of freedom, breaking rules, living on their own terms, and answering to no one. This rebellious spirit continues to captivate us, especially in a world full of rules and responsibilities. Adventure and mystery. The pirate life was dangerous, unpredictable, and full of mystery. Whether it's the search for lost treasure, the tales of ghost ships, or the battles on the high seas, pirates represent adventure at its most thrilling. Hollywood and pop culture. From books like Treasure Island to movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, pop culture has kept pirates alive in our hearts. The image of the swashbuckling adventurer, sailing under the Jolly Roger, continues to inspire new generations. Legends that live on. Figures like Blackbeard, and Bonny, and Henry Morgan became legends not just because of their crimes, but because of their stories. Their lives are filled with courage, defiance, and larger-than-life exploits that make us wonder, what was it really like to be a pirate? The timeless appeal of pirates. The real pirates of the Caribbean were more than thieves and outlaws. They were rebels, adventurers, and pioneers who left behind a legacy that still captures our imagination today. From challenging social norms with their pirate codes to inspiring countless myths, pirates continue to remind us of the thrill of living freely, without limits. Even though the golden age of piracy is long gone, their spirit lives on the pages of books, in the magic of movies, and in the stories we continue to tell. That's why we'll never stop being obsessed with Piratessa because. So, there you have it, the entire story of the real pirates of the Caribbean. From the golden age of piracy, when pirates ruled the seas and terrorized treasure ships, to their harsh daily lives filled with danger and their surprising pirate codes of equality. We've explored the legendary figures like Blackbeard, and Bonny, and Henry Morgana, who turned themselves into icons of rebellion and adventure. And we've seen how it all came crashing down during the decline of piracy, as powerful empires clamped down and brought an end to their reign. But even though the pirates themselves are long gone, their legacy still lives on. They inspire us through myths, books, movies, and stories that continue to captivate the world. Final thought, the real pirates of the Caribbean may be gone, but their daring adventures and rebellious spirit live on in history and legend. They remind us to chase freedom, embrace adventure, and never let the world define our limits. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to BritBuzz for more captivating stories, and let us know in the comments which pirate fascinated you the most. Until next time, keep exploring the past and uncovering the stories that shaped our world. Azethia ai Diaris Sedilla.